Good evening. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Newport News School Board for Tuesday, November 14th, 2023. On behalf of the members of the school board and Dr. Mitchell, I welcome each of you present this evening and those who are watching on TV and online. A quorum is present to transact the business of the school division. The board's thoughts and prayers are with Maritza Alger and her family as they are processing the departure of a family member. Ms. Alger will be joining the board as our most recently elected official from the South District to the school board at our next meeting. We will begin tonight's meeting with the invocation and pledge to the flag. Here to do the honors are two students from Rich Neck Elementary School, Isabella Norman, and I believe it is Jalea. Did I pronounce that right? Jalea Austin. First, Isabella will come forward and deliver the invocation. Yes.
Good evening. My name is Isabella Norman, SCA President of Rich Neck Elementary School. I'm a 5th grade student, and I'm happy to be here. I'm going to read a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. We, the students and staff of Rich Neck Elementary, are moving forward. Rich Neck strong.
Oh. Thank you, Isabella. Jalea, if you would come forward and tell us a little bit about yourself before you get started with the pledge.
Good evening. My name is Jalea Austin, SCA Vice President of Rich Neck Elementary School. I am a 4th grade student and I'm glad to be here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. So we want to thank you both for participating in tonight's meeting. You did a wonderful job. And supporting both of our students tonight are their family members and school families. So let's give you all a hand as well. The board really does appreciate the encouragement that you give to the students, and we thank you for bringing them to share with us tonight. Appreciate that. So the next item on tonight's agenda is school board recognitions. Dr. Mitchell, would you please join me at the podium?
Absolutely.
We have the honor of presenting this month's school board recognitions. The Virginia Mathematics and Science Coalition is a nonprofit organization that supports school systems, teachers, parents, and students in achieving and sustaining excellence in mathematics, science, engineering, and technology education, or STEM. Each year, the coalition recognizes effective student and teacher educational programs through its Programs That Work awards. The coalition solicits, reviews, and recognizes exemplary programs that have a positive impact on student and teacher learning. For the 4th time in recent years, Newport News Public Schools has earned a Programs That Work award. This year's award recognizes our STEAM summer camps. This evening, we invited the team that conceptualized, planned, and hosted the summer program. Please join us in congratulating our talented STEM team, beginning with Tammy Byron, our STEM Instructional Supervisor. Jennifer Barker, STEM Specialist. And Kevin Newhibel, STEM Specialist. Our STEAM camps were held during the summer at Hines Middle School and served students in grades 3 through 12. 10 unique camps offered hands-on learning experiences in computer science, emerging technologies, and engineering design. Engineered to spark creativity, promote teamwork, and teach real-world problem-solving skills, the program paired a robust curriculum with diverse mentorship opportunities. Students were able to explore robotics, city planning and AI, and design rockets and experience hands-on learning with drone technology. The camps were supported by pre-service teachers from William & Mary and our Newport News High School interns. Thanks to the collaborative efforts of this team and our partners, the STEAM summer camps are not only getting noticed throughout our city, but across the state. And as I mentioned, this was a collaborative effort with William & Mary. So joining us this evening is a person from William & Mary who came right in as a partner and helped support this team. Dr. Meredith Keir, Distinguished Associate Professor of Science Education. Would you please stand and be recognized? And we'd also like to acknowledge School of Education faculty member Dr. Lindy Johnson, who couldn't be present. She's the Associate Professor and Chair of Curriculum Instruction, but we'd like to thank her as well. Please. We'd also like to acknowledge the presence of our summer program co-principals, Denisha Bazemore, STEM Magnet Director at Crittenden Middle School. Would you please stand? And Candace Foster, Principal at Riverside Elementary School and a former STEM lead. Please stand. Also present with us are Dr. Joanne Jones, Executive Director of Curriculum and Development. Dr. Jones. And all the way in the back, but I see him, Dr. Kip Rogers, our Chief Academic Officer. Thank you, Dr. Rogers. Again, we wish this team and our partners congratulations on bringing home a Program That Works award to Newport News Public Schools. Congratulations and keep up the great work with our students. To our next award. The school division's business office is responsible for providing sound financial management of the division's resources. One of the most important duties is financial and management reporting. As a public body, the school division's financial reporting must be understandable, transparent, and concise. This evening, we're pleased to acknowledge that the accounting team has earned 2 prestigious awards for the annual comprehensive financial report. The Government Finance Officers Association Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting and the Association of School Business Officials International Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting. Accepting this recognition on behalf of the business team is Kimberly Powell, Acting Director of Accounting and Finance. Ms. Powell, would you please come forward? And Jennifer Lofton, Interim Accounting Supervisor. Please come forward. Both the Government Finance Officers Association Certificate of Achievement and the Association of School Business Officials International Certificate of Excellence represent the highest form of recognition from each organization. To earn the award, the division's comprehensive financial report was judged by an impartial panel and met the program's high standards by demonstrating a constructive spirit of full disclosure to communicate the financial history. These awards are awarded to school divisions that have met or exceeded each program's high accounting standards. Award-winning reports go beyond the requirements of generally accepted accounting principles to provide a variety of information, including financial statements, supporting schedules, statistics, and narrative explanations. The award programs are designed to encourage districts to provide the public with a fair representation of all the funds and financial transactions. So we congratulate Ms. Powell and Ms. Lofton, and would you please share this acknowledgement with the other members of your team? And congratulations again. But while we're taking the picture, I'd like to acknowledge our Chief Financial Officer who's sliding in here, Scarlett Minto. And again, congratulations. This week also marks the annual observance of American Education Week, when school districts across the country celebrate and showcase public education. Our school district is commemorating American Education Week by showcasing teaching and learning. Every day, schools this week will be posting promotional messages and using social media to publicize how our students are becoming college, career, and citizen ready through social media. And at this time, we'll take about a 7-minute break so that our honorees may leave if they choose to do so. You're certainly welcome to stay. During this time, our viewing audience will have the opportunity to view this month's School Board Spotlight. So we'll stand in recess for about 7 minutes. Thank you.
Students at Marshall Early Learning Center spent time with students from a slightly different type of school. Recruits with the Newport News Police Department's Basic Law Enforcement Training Academy visited Marshall during their Community Week. This is a time when recruits learn how deep the police department's commitment to community is woven into the fabric of this nationally accredited law enforcement agency. At Marshall, Police Recruit Class 33 was warmly welcomed by school leaders before meeting the young mariners. In each classroom, recruits assisted preschool and kindergarten students with their daily learning tasks. Together, they learned new letters, read books, explored technology, and wrapped up their morning routines. For students of all ages, this was a special time, while also giving the younger Marshall students a chance to ask the recruits about their future careers in law enforcement. By strengthening relationships among students, educators, and police, these Newport News Police Department recruits are already showing a genuine commitment to serving our community. Families at Palmer Elementary enjoyed a special treat during back-to-school night in late September. In honor of Hispanic Heritage Month, Palmer hosted an engaging and educational Hispanic Heritage celebration. Hispanic students make up almost half of the entire student population at Palmer, and the school is home to 3 newcomer classes for students who speak English as a second language. During the celebration, all families were welcome to tour several learning stations that showcased the scientific, artistic, athletic, and historical impacts Hispanics have contributed worldwide. Educators assisted students at each station with hands-on learning experiences, literacy connections, and an in-depth exploration of the rich Hispanic heritage. Our community came together to celebrate the diversity of music education in Newport News Public Schools. Held at Todd Stadium, the second annual NNPS Marching Band Expo showcased the talents of almost 500 elementary, middle, and high school student musicians. The evening kicked off with middle and high school students forming a mega band to perform the national anthem. Vice Mayor Curtis Bethany enthusiastically directed this impressive ensemble, which also gave middle school students an opportunity to learn alongside the more experienced high school musicians. 8th graders came together as an all-middle school band to perform Seven Nation Army. For weeks, each band rehearsed the same sheet music at their home schools, before rehearsing collectively for the first time right before the performance. And 2 of our city's youngest but super talented drumlines showcased their budding skills, with Katherine Johnson's Crimson Thunder and Riverside's Boomin' Bears performing. All 5 high school marching bands were invited to perform their current themed halftime shows, which they've been perfecting since the summer. It was a chance for the bands to encourage one another while appreciating the range of styles and musical selections at each high school. Throughout the evening, schools hosted tables to promote support through PTAs and band boosters, and families were eager to support their students by filling out airgrams, which school and city leaders kindly read over the loudspeakers to encourage our student musicians to continue working hard as they develop their musical talents. For the first time ever, Newport News High School students went head-to-head in a chalk art battle. Historic Hilton Village Incorporated partnered with Newport News Public Schools to host the Art Challenge during the 4th annual Hilton Art Walk and Busker Festival in late September. Leading up to the competition, student teams brainstormed ideas, agreed on a final design, and practiced their chalk art skills at their schools. On the Saturday morning of the Hilton Art Walk, teams came prepared with pop-up tents to protect their art from being ruined by the misty rain. By shading, blending, and creating depth on a flat surface, these student artists transformed a blank asphalt parking lot into a masterpiece just by using sticks of chalk. Event goers were welcome to watch the students in action as their works of art came to life. Once the chalk dust settled, Warwick High School was selected as the winning team. And if that wasn't enough creativity for one day, student art was on display for everyone to enjoy. Thanks to this community partnership, the Hilton Art Walk and Busker Festival was a wonderful event to showcase the artistic talents of the students in Newport News Public Schools. In early October, thousands of schools across the nation celebrated Walk and Roll to School Day, an annual event to ensure safe routes to school for all students. And Newport News Public Schools joined the celebration by moving and staying active. Students and staff at Newsom Park Elementary started their day less than a mile down the road at Heritage High School. Here, students and staff were joined by a kind police escort to ensure a safe trip to school. On wheels and on foot, the Navigator family had a fun, safe trek to school together. At Riverside Elementary, every class spent their resource time walking in front of the school to encourage physical activity. The energetic resource team handed out free pedometers so students could continue counting their steps at home. With music playing, students walked, danced, and skipped their way to forming healthy habits. And at Stony Run Elementary, students, staff, and Newport News police officers created a walking school bus, with friends joining the procession as they made their way to school. And school buses intentionally dropped students off right outside the school parking lot so everyone could join in the movement. The last week of October is celebrated as Red Ribbon Week to emphasize the full potential of youth living healthy, drug-free lives. All across Newport News Public Schools, students, staff, and families committed to be kind to your mind and live drug-free. The week kicked off with a Red Ribbon Community Walk in the Southeast community. multiple schools came together for this annual event at the Monitor Merrimack Overlook Park. Kavine Johnson, a supervisor with the Community Criminal Justice Agency, talked to the students about the importance of staying drug-free to be successful in school and in life. The talented Crimson Thunder Drumline from Katherine Johnson Elementary then led a 1-mile community walk along the banks of the James River to celebrate living drug-free. Hilton Elementary brought their positive message of healthy choices to the streets as they paraded through historic Hilton Village. Weeks before the parade, Hilton held a t-shirt design contest for 3rd through 5th graders. This year's winning design was from 3rd grader Joel Todd, and every 3rd grade student wore his unique and creative design during the Red Ribbon Parade. After the parade, the students were treated to a personal performance from Warwick High School's talented drumline. At Knollwood Meadows, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade classes spent weeks working with music teacher Tamara Cox to write and choreograph their own Just Say No raps. In front of the entire school and families, each class performed their energetic raps to spread their drug-free message. And at Rich Neck Elementary, the Raccoons were joined by Denby's marching band for an upbeat Red Ribbon Parade. The Denby Soul Regiment led the way through Rich Neck's neighborhood, with students wearing red, holding signs, and chanting, "Just Say No to Drugs."
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this month's School Board Spotlight. In the interest of time, since we have quite a few speakers this evening, we're going to make a move from item 4.01, personnel actions, and include that in as a 1.05. So I would like to take a motion to approve the superintendent's personnel recommendations.
Okay. Madam Chair, I move to approve the recommendation of the superintendent for Lisa Evans for Director of School Counseling, Sharon Purnell for Assistant Principal, Knollwood Meadows Elementary, and Angela Siders for Executive Director of Elementary Leadership.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, doubles. Mr. Brown and Mr. Harris. Okay, do we have any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Harris.
4.
Hunter.
4.
Amon. 4. Best. 4. Brown.
4.
Searles Law.
4.
Motion carries 6-0.
Great, thank you. Dr. Mitchell, would you introduce us?
Thank you very much. Good evening, and again, thank you, Madam Chair. Our first appointee, Ms. Lisa Evans, is unable to be here with us tonight, but I would still like to acknowledge and welcome her as our new Director of School Counseling. Ms. Evans has a Master's of Arts degree in Urban Education, Guidance and Counseling, pre-K through 12 from Norfolk State University. She's currently an employee with the KIP Forward Academy in Atlanta, Georgia. She has worked in the past as a Student Services Coordinator in Atlanta. Additionally, she has served as a college and career coach, dual enrollment coordinator, and a professional school counselor for Hampton City Schools. And she's also held the position of school counseling director in Poquoson. So even though she's not here tonight, we'd like to welcome Ms. Evans.
Yes, absolutely.
Our next appointee is Ms. Sharon Purnell as our new assistant principal at Knollwood Meadows Elementary School, and she is here to join us tonight. Ms. Purnell has a Master's of Science, a Master's in Science in Education and Educational Leadership and Supervision from Old Dominion University. She currently works right here in Newport News Public Schools as an administrative assistant at Stony Run Elementary. She has previously worked as a teacher in Hampton City Schools as well as Henrico Public Schools. Congratulations, Ms. Purnell, and if you have anyone with you tonight that you would like to acknowledge, you have a few moments to do so.
copy and paste my father and my son TJ. I have my brothers here, Ronell Maurice, my former assistant principal, Rhonda Chambers Harmon, and my new principal, Dylan Phil. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. We're excited for you. Congratulations. And our last appointee also is unable to be with us tonight, but I would like to acknowledge Ms. Angela Siders as the new Executive Director of Elementary School Leadership. Ms. Siders has a Master of Arts in Education and Human Development from George Washington University. She currently works as an Executive Director of Secondary Teaching and Learning for Virginia Beach Public Schools. She has experience as a teacher coach, principal coach for elementary, middle, and high school principals, and she has held various positions with York County Schools to include Director of K-12 Curriculum and Instruction and Associate Director of School Administration, K-12. She also has previously held principalships in York County and Newport News. We would like to welcome Ms. Siders back to Newport News Public Schools. Thank you.
So thank you for your service to the division. We're glad you're with us. So during our regular meetings, we provide time for the public to address the school board. These opportunities are scheduled in the early part of our agenda and also towards the end of the meeting. As advertised, citizens may submit comments via email up to 30 minutes prior to our meeting time to be included in the official meeting record. For those of you joining us in person, the board considers this an opportunity to listen to your comments. Please understand that we will consider your concerns. We ask that you comply with our 3-minute time limit. As you begin your comments, a green light will come on, a yellow light signals that you have 30 seconds remaining, and a red light and beep indicates your time is up. And I do ask that we make sure that you stick to that 3-minute time limit because we do have a plethora of cards this evening. And before we get started, we are going to let our new hire have the moment to tip out if she and her family would like to do so and go celebrate. Okay, I will read in groups of 2 again. The first one will be Reverend Natalie Chamberlain and Michelle Nordine.
Good evening. I'm Reverend Natalie Chamberlain, a parent, grandparent, and pastor of Hilton Christian Church, a congregation who welcomes and embraces people of all genders and gender identities. I'm here to ask you to stop implementation of the procedure on treatment of transgender students and put into place a procedure that actually protects the physical and mental well-being of trans students. The current procedure was implemented by the superintendent is flawed and contradictory. Exceptions for state and federal law in some instances show that the rest of the procedure is, in fact, not protecting students. My congregation makes space for all people, but especially those who don't conform to current government standards for what is acceptable gender or gender identity. We find that many have been traumatized by the kind of harmful procedure that you are looking to implement. The basic premise of this procedure is denying the humanity of children and youth. Parental rights do not give those parents the right to harm their children. Children are not property. It would be my guess that none of you uses your phone as a suicide hotline. I do. When you deny the basic humanity of an individual by refusing to use their name, you have denied their existence. That leads to mental health issues. If that isn't enough, you've used this procedure to say that if they are afraid of their parents' reaction to their need for counseling, you're going to tell their parents anyway. Who intentionally puts children in harm's way? I'm a parent of a trans child and the grandparent of a trans granddaughter. I have seen the damage school policies denying my loved ones' identities have caused. Thank God They have family who love and support them. How many more children need to end up on the list for Trans Day of Remembrance before you consider their right to exist as themselves? For the sake of the lives of the trans children in your care, remove this procedure and write something humane. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle Nordine. Michelle Nordine.
Good evening, Chairman, Ms. Roslaw, Dr. Mitchell, and school board members. For those who haven't heard me speak before, my name is Michelle Nordine, and I'm the Newport News Council PTA's president. I would like to give everyone an update on the state of our PTAs in our school district. This year, Council is focusing on increasing our PTA membership. Council is holding a Call to Membership Challenge that is running now through February 29th, 2024. The PTA at each level with the highest percentage of PTA members based on their student population with a minimum of 200 members will receive a monetary award from our council at our March general membership meeting. As of this afternoon, we have 2,540 PTA members in our school district. Please consider joining your child's PTA or your neighborhood school PTA if your children have graduated. Even if you can't volunteer, you will still receive information about what the PTA that you join is doing each month. Most PTAs send out updates to their PTA members to make sure that everyone knows what they are doing and not just the families at their school. Being a PTA member is not synonymous with volunteering. Believe me, I understand not having the time to volunteer. You can be a PTA member and be a silent or support member. This means that by becoming a PTA member, you are supporting PTA's mission, which is to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. If anyone in Newport News would like to support a PTA and its mission, you can find a link to join a PTA pinned to the top of the Newport News Council PTA's Facebook page, or I passed around a flyer for everybody who's here. 28 of our 38 PTAs have a link for community members to join on the council's webpage. As more PTAs finish the restarting requirements, their membership links will be added to this page. Before I leave, I would also like to take this time to welcome Greenwood Elementary PTA to our family. They voted in a board a couple weeks ago and will be working closely with council to finish all the required paperwork to become an active PTA. With the addition of Greenwood PTA, Newport News has the possibility of having 38 active PTAs this year. Thank you for your support in making every child's potential a reality. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next two speakers, Clark Desaro Raynal and Carolyn Mozaitis.
Good evening.
Evening.
My name is Clark Desaro Raynal. I live in Newport News. My wife and I have 3 kids. Over the last 9 years, they've been students at Hilton Elementary, Hines Middle, and Warwick High School. I'm the minister of Hilton Presbyterian Church in Hilton Village, 34 Main Street. I've never asked for the opportunity, the citizens' opportunity, to address this board before, but I'm led to do so tonight. Thank you for listening. Our school superintendent recently ordered a policy that prohibits our schools from honoring a transgender student's right to be addressed by whatever pronouns they choose. This board has the power to override this order tonight, and I ask that you do. It's clear to me the concern for parental rights is not the real motive behind this prohibition. Rather, it is to allow no room in our schools for LGBTQ plus students. Let's say it out loud. The order says some of our kids don't matter. The order would have gay students stop being gay and trans students stop being who they are, which simply isn't possible. That's like asking a kid with red hair to stop having red hair. We are all God's children. Isaiah 43:1, God says, "Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine." That's all of us. God created each of us just as we are. Some of us were born gay, and that is an amazing and beautiful gift from God, a blessed life to live. Our children understand School is to be a place of education, acceptance, inclusion, nurture, and support. Our children long for that. For LGBTQ plus students, the newest order from the superintendent is a 180-degree turn in the opposite direction. They are dismayed by this rejection of who they are as children of God. You have the authority to override this order. Please do. Thank you.
Carolyn?
Good evening. Hello. Forgive my nerves. My name is Carolyn Mazaitis. I live in Newport News. I retired from the Newport News public school system, having taught 35 years. Then I continued to do science shows in the schools in support of the SOLs for 8 more years. As a teacher, I was obviously in a classroom to teach the curriculum. I taught half of my career in 3rd and the other half in 7th grade life science. In order to enable students to learn, they need to be in a space where they feel safe because they are seen for the valuable person that they are. Children will only learn when they know they can trust the teacher who is guiding them in that experience. The atmosphere of acceptance is essential for that rapport. Trust is essential and a very big deal. 2 brief stories. I was teaching 7th at Huntington, had a sweet and helpful young girl in my class. The following year, I was at Newsom Park. I was the science specialist there, had a lab. The girl came in the first day bringing her little sister for her first day of 3rd grade. She told me that they were now in foster care. Their father had been abusing them, and she thanked me for being the only place she had felt safe. When I left Huntington after a really rough year of teaching, my homeroom students wrote in my yearbook, which they all signed, "We disrespected you every day all year long, but you loved us anyway." Mutual respect and love and a feeling of safety make teaching possible. Please do not do anything to make the atmosphere in our public classrooms a place where students feel isolated, disrespected, or unsafe. Names and pronouns are actually very important to all of us. Please do not ask teachers to enforce a policy that harms children by making them feel unacceptable as a person or less valued for who they are.
The next 2 speakers, As Chagnon and Mary Voss.
Cards to read from. All right. Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the board. I thank you for your time tonight. My name is Ash. I am a proud graduate of a Virginia public school. I came up my whole career from kindergarten through the 12th grade in Virginia public schools. I'm now a student at Virginia State University. I'm very proud to be a Virginian, and I'm very proud to have grown up in a society and a culture in my school that accepted me for who I was. When I came out in my junior year of high school, I did so because I felt ready. I did so because I was ready to be truly who I am. I would not have done so if I did not feel comfortable. I would not have done so if I did not feel safe to speak the truth about who I am. What the policies that our superintendent in Newport News has put into place would do is they would take away the ability of a student like me to be honest about who we are and to take our time with discussing who we are. One of the big things that this policy does is it requires teachers, suggests, requires teachers to out queer kids to their parents. Now, I came from a very supporting household. My parents were wonderful. They loved me. They accepted me for who I am. It was still probably a good 6 months before I was comfortable coming out to them. I cannot imagine what it would have been like to have been outed to them against my will. That would have been a complete nightmare. And to that point, My parents, my mother's house, when she was my age in the 80s and 90s, was the safe house for queer kids that got thrown out after coming out to their parents. This is something that I hope to never see happen in my lifetime. It is something that I hope to never have to do, but I fear that the policies being pushed by the Youngkin administration and adopted by our superintendent will put me in the same position that my parents were in 30 years ago. I don't want to raise kids in the world where I have to tell them the same things that my parents have told me, that it's okay to be who you are, no matter what anybody says, that it's okay to need support from one another. And I also want to take a moment to talk about the environment in the school that I grew up in. The community that I grew up in was very open and accepting, in part because the school was open and accepting. What the policies being suggested and implemented are doing is they're putting a target on the backs of queer kids like me, and they're saying that it's okay to single us out, call us names, bully us. It's going to exacerbate a problem that people like me already face, and it's going to impact everyone in our community because it's going to shape our society in an intolerant direction. I don't want to have to raise kids in a world that's less accepting than the one that I'm growing up in. Thank you for your time.
Mary Voss.
Hello, Mary Voss, an NPS graduate, teacher, and parent. I'm speaking as an individual tonight. This week is Transgender Awareness Week, and I wish that I could mention that in a far better context than what's happening to trans kids in an NPS right now. I'm disappointed in the Newport News School Board's decision to have the superintendent implement Governor Youngkin's discriminatory model policies without a transparent up or down vote by board members. LGBTQ plus youth are at much greater risk of suicide compared to their peers. To be clear, to quote the Trevor Project, LGBTQ plus youth are not inherently prone to suicide risk because of their sexual orientation or gender identity, but rather placed at higher risk because of how they are mistreated and stigmatized in society. Research by the Trevor Project and other groups has found that these vulnerable students' outcomes are significantly better when their gender identity and preferred pronouns are respected at school and respected by the adults in their lives, and certainly when they're not being outed to unsupportive family members, which can be so dangerous and is the reason many trans kids are homeless if they come from unsupportive families. Respecting these kids for who they are is often literally a matter of life and death for them. Virginia school boards ignore a governor's model guidance all the time. In 2020, only 10% of Virginia school boards implemented Northam's model guidance, according to the news publication, the Virginia Mercury. In 2020, the Newport News School Board initially voted down former Governor Northam's model guidance encouraging protections for trans students, with minimal concerns from the board at the time about not following the then governor's guidance. The board changed their vote after public outcry, not to try to please the former governor. Yet the action on Friday makes it seem that when Governor Youngkin says jump, this board will jump. Youngkin poured $19 million into Tuesday's elections in Virginia to try to get a far-right majority in the state legislature. He failed miserably. His allies are now out of power in both the House of Delegates and the state Senate. His extremist agenda will be blocked for the rest of his term. His presidential aspirations are over. The emperor has no clothes. It's a fitting demise for a governor who created a teacher snitch line to target teachers who support diversity and social emotional education, and a governor who tried to get AP African American Studies banned in Virginia. The list goes on and on. Why is a large, diverse urban school district like Newport News giving in to this lame duck governor's hateful demands? Fascists gain power unnecessarily when our leaders do not have the courage to stand up to their discrimination. Will you jump again when Youngkin says jump? What if next time he demands Virginia school districts remove references to African American history items from the curriculum? Will you jump again if his administration says ban books? How about if his administration demands removal of social emotional learning from the curriculum? And if you would stand up to our bigoted governor on any of these other issues, then why won't you stand up for trans and LGBTQ plus students? Please rescind this cruel policy. Thank you.
Next we have speakers Russell Evenson and Jonathan Waldron. And then I'll just put the last one in for this section is Caitlin O'Brien.
Thank you, Newport News School Board, for once again allowing us to come before you. And I just simply want to come here with thanks to you for considering the policy that you have adopted. You know the points. I'm sure I am positive. You folks have studied it in and out. A lot of things have been said here already tonight. And when I read the policy that I've gotten right here before me, I read that there are protection clauses, if you want to call it, that if a child is officially, really honestly abused by a parent, that there is a legal right for that child to appeal and receive help. I see it right here before me. And I thank you that you have given parents a privilege and a right back into their children's lives. They are responsible for their child. And so everywhere that, a child needs the support, I've heard these points before, and we listen to them, and they are serious. We take the life of a child very seriously, a threat of suicide very seriously, a life of a child's emotional well-being very seriously. But, and there are provisions, again, I'm repeating myself, but there are provisions here that if a child is actually in that kind of jeopardy, then there is things in place to protect that child. So I just simply wanted to come tonight and say thank you for giving parents the power to be notified, and especially for the counseling, that they would be, their child would be counseled unaware totally. Parents don't need that kind of surprise. They already have enough challenges raising their children. So I just simply want to say thank you again tonight for your looking at it. I do not envy your job. I do not envy your position, but I do thank you.
Jonathan Waldron.
Thank you. My name is Jonathan Waldron. I'm a Newport News resident and business owner. Every testimony given tonight will and has highlighted just how important a parent's involvement is in their child's life. Unfortunately, some of these testimonies end in bullying, abuse, neglect, and trauma. And the people who lived these tragedies need and deserve the love of a father and mother. But unfortunately, in some cases, they were robbed of it. However, these stories are not the rule, but rather they are the exception. In fact, these stories highlight, in the most tragic of ways, just how weighty and impactful it is to have a parent's involvement in their child's life. These children cannot receive that important support and affirmation if we exclude the parents in the first place. I want to thank our superintendent, our school board, for the recent revision of the 2021 Northam policies, which exclude parents and endangered children, teachers, and counselors. I want to thank and encourage you in that you have made the right decision, that you're not alone. The decision to include parents and to protect all kids, teachers, and counselors is the right decision. It will have lasting positive impacts in the school system and in our children's lives. I would challenge anyone here tonight to read the new policy procedures and to point out in any way in which they promote bullying, discrimination, abuse, or harassment. If you read them with an open mind and an honest heart, you will find none. Thank you all.
Caitlin.
Thank you. I would like to start by reinforcing the documented statistics that have been stated in this room time and again on how astronomically high the rates of abuse are by parents of transgender kids and bullying in schools. My name is Caitlin O'Brien. I'm a resident of Newport News for well over a decade now, and I shared a personal story of trauma last month in opposition to Governor Youngkin's model policy on trans students, one which, unlike the previously adopted policy, was not passed by the General Assembly, which would not seem to have a mandate given recent election results. I am here to speak again for a vote in opposition to Governor Youngkin's model policy changes ordered by the superintendent, which should be overturned by the board rather than allowing it to forcibly out students to abusive parents, give a green light for harassment, which I think the other side of this issue has frankly been demonstrating the ugly realities of with their own plain hostilities and disgust openly shown to transgender people over the last several months. And the policy will also prevent students from talking to otherwise safe adults at student when they lack one at home, something that was of tremendous consequence to me. Some will have the courage to talk to parents, others will be outed, even if not initially, and what happens then? Trauma and victimization by those given a green light by Newport News Public Schools will consequently be revealed. And if you think Newport News School Board could not receive another costly lawsuit for lack of safety, then I can only suggest you look at the results of the Gavin Grimm case for the damages to be paid as a result of the irreparable harm done to the most vulnerable students in your schools, whom teachers and faculty have already spoken in this room of the bullying of. I've spoken to this board of the personal cost of my own life, of the closet having been used by a molester to silence me when I was 13. I have seen homeless kids, transgender kids, while at a support group when I was working in San Diego. I will not forgive you if you condone this policy and these consequences on us as a result of this policy, and neither will those harmed by it. Thank you.
We have additional cards. We are going to go on with the focus of our agenda regarding the personnel report and the budget transfer and all that, and listen to some of our presentations this evening for those who are listening. But we will get to each and every person who has put a card in this evening. So we're on to Section 3, the consent agenda, which includes 3.01 minutes from the regular meeting, October 17th, 2023, 3.02 minutes from the work session, October 17th, 2023, 3.03 minutes from the closed session, October 17th, 2023. We also have 3.04 financial reports, including the revenue report by October 17th, 2023, the expense report for October 17th, child nutrition reports for October 17th, 2023. We also have 3.05, the personnel report, 3.06, budget transfer, 3.07, Todd Stadium maintenance agreement. At this time, can we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Madam Chair, I do have some questions about the turf maintenance agreement that I'd like to just get some confirmation on, because in reading the agreement, there's a lot of parts to the agreement that are required of us by the city, and so I just want to just get that confirmation. In particular, there's a Section 3 here that talks about having a professional engineer on staff to do inspections, and then there's another section in the AstroTurf maintenance agreement about stormwater and drainage, and so I just want to get some confirmation on those questions.
Would you like to have
Rusty,
Mr. Fairhart?
Mr. Fairhart. Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Brown, I did not hear the
Okay.
totality of your questions.
I'll read this section, which is, it just says the owner shall cause inspections to be conducted as follows. The inspections of the facilities to be conducted by a professional engineer registered in Virginia and approved by the city. The engineer shall be retained by the owner at the owner's expense. So that essentially means we have to have a professional engineer in our budget, right, to perform these inspections.
Money to contractually obligate for that service.
Okay, so
Correct.
that is something we can contract out.
Correct.
And okay,
It doesn't have to be somebody on staff, but certainly we need to provide that service.
And so then there are, because there's plenty of these engineering companies, there are ones that we can go out and get.
Yes, and we'll work closely with the city to ensure their approval as well.
And then just reading the AstroTurf maintenance agreement, I'm learning a lot about AstroTurf that I didn't know before in regards to the drainage. So if you could just describe do we have storm drain inlets and ditches and channels and other things that are associated with the field out there? Doesn't the water just essentially drop on the ground and absorb into the ground?
Or there'll be a stormwater management plan that'll have to be approved by the city in collaboration with the design and installation of the turf. So our vendor that's going to install the turf will submit a plan that's approved by the city.
Okay.
And that's going to have the stormwater management.
Okay, and that plan will have storm drains on
Correct.
it and management. Okay. And then this is the confirmation of, do we have an idea of the cost? Is the cost of maintaining those stormwater drains more or less than what we pay to maintain drainage now?
That I could not answer. I would say it's on par with our current expenses. Probably a little bit more runoff given the surface versus natural grass.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
You mentioned, for example, a stormwater maintenance plan having to be drawn up, put together and approved by the city. Timing of this, if we approve this now, this is maintenance in the manual versus, if we sign on, but then they don't approve the stormwater management plan, are we beholden to paying for these agreements if the rest can't come together?
What I'll say, Ms. Amon, is that the plan will come together. It's just a matter of when and at what expense and how many iterations the city requires in order for us to meet their needs. But the company that we're working with does this nationwide, so they're well versed in what the requirements are, and they work closely with the city and the municipality in regards to the plans and the engineering, stormwater management, etc.
So would these be signed before we get all of that done?
This particular agreement, it's my understanding, needs to be signed in order for us to proceed.
Okay.
Question?
Yeah, no, just, this is one of these typical things that happens. So, in all actuality, the stormwater plan is part of the city's plan. Just so happened we're about to do some construction on our property.
Correct.
So it's already tied in, no different in your house versus this water that runs down the street, the middle of the street. So just basically tie in. That's it.
Great.
Nothing major.
Other comments or concerns? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Harris.
4.
Hunter.
4.
Amon.
4.
Best. 4. Brown.
4.
Searles Law.
4.
Motion carries 6-0.
Great, thank you. The next item, and thank you, Mr. Fairhart. The next item on our agenda is 4.02, our new policies. Dr. Mitchell.
Thank you very much. If you recall, Tracy Brooks has presented multiple new policies around safety and security. And at this time, we have some policies that we would like you to approve. And Tracy is here if you have any questions, but I know she did a thorough job in the previous meeting.
Yes. And I do thank you for putting up with all of our questions and inquiries during that time. So I'm going to take these individually. So I'm going to have the vice chair. I'm going to read what the letters of the policy are, and she will let us know also what the name of the policy is for your awareness. So may I have a motion to approve policy ADH?
Madam Chair, I move to approve policy ADH, possession of weapons and firearms on school board property.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Harris.
4.
Hunter.
4.
Amon.
4.
Best. 4. Brown.
Against?
Searles Law.
4.
Motion carries 5-1.
Okay, I have a motion to approve policy ADHA.
Madam Chair, I move to approve policy ADHA, possession of certain weapons on school property.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Harris.
4.
Hunter.
4.
Amon.
4.
Best.
4.
Brown.
Against?
Searles Law.
4.
Got tongue-tied there for a second. Motion carries 5-1.
May I have a motion to approve policy ADHB?
Madam Chair, I move to approve policy ADHB, gun-free school board buildings and property.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Harris.
4.
Hunter.
4.
Amon.
Against.
Best.
4.
Brown.
Against.
Searles Law.
4.
Motion carries 4-2.
Okay, we have, may I have a motion to approve policy ADHC?
Madam Chair, I move to approve policy ADHC, employment of school security officers.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Harris.
4.
Hunter.
4.
Amon.
4.
Best.
4.
Brown.
Against.
Searles Law.
4.
Motion carries 5-1.
And finally, may I have a motion to approve policy EBB?
Madam Chair, I move to approve policy EBB, threat assessments.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Harris.
4.
Hunter.
4.
Amon.
4.
Best.
4.
Brown.
4.
Searles Law.
4.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, thank you all. The next item on our agenda is 4.03, fund balance increase. May I have a motion to approve? Oh, you're going to do an update for us. Thank you. So I should have said, the next item on our agenda is 4.03, fund balance increase. Dr. Mitchell, would you introduce who's in front of us?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Scarlett Minto, our Chief Financial Officer, is going to come before you to give you another brief overview on the fund balance increase, and then...
Yes.
Okay, good evening, Madam Chair Searles Law, Madam Co-Chair Dr. Best, members of the board, and Dr. Mitchell. So I come before you this evening to request the use of additional funding from both their child nutrition and textbook fund balances. Beginning with child nutrition services, we are requesting an additional $2.2 million from the child nutrition fund balance to address the following needs. $1.2 million for cafe renovations, $50,000 for new ovens, $186,000 for refrigeration replacements, $591,000 for serving lines, and $177,000 falls under the other category. That would be like carpentry, shelving, plumbing, some small computer devices, for a total of $2.2 million. So you can see on the slide there we have a fund balance of $8.2 million. For FY24, you previously approved $22.9 million. So, moving to textbook funds, we are requesting an additional $1.6 million for the new English textbook adoption. We anticipate the state approving in January. We have been anxiously waiting for them to approve all the necessary grades so we can get it all in one contract. So the textbook fund balance currently is $9.1 million. You have already approved for FY24 $2.6 million, and the additional request is for $1.6 million. So in summary, the Child Nutrition Services FY24 budget would increase $2.2 million, going from $22,995,450 to $25,199,450. And the textbook fund increase of $1.6 million would go from $2,640,273 to $4,240,273. And so the total general fund, just to go ahead and mention that, the general fund will not change. The workers' comp fund balance will not change. And the school officially adopted funds would now total $413,164,234.
Board members, do you have questions?
Yeah. Yes, Madam Chair, I have just a general question about the use of the funds. So these Child Nutrition Service Fund and the textbook fund can't be used, and I'm asking the question, can't be used for personnel. Is that true?
That Okay, so that is not exactly true. So Child Nutrition Services is federally funded. Now the carryover funds we typically use for capital, but we can use that for salaries if we run short. This is a multi-year fund. Textbook fund we cannot use for salaries and benefits, stuff like that. You have to use it for books and materials, online materials, that kind of thing.
Any other questions?
Is there any deadlines on using the funds?
Okay, so that's Child Nutrition Services. We're allowed to keep about 3 months operating dollars in the fund balance, and it's starting to get a little higher than it needs to be for that. And that is in case the federal government shuts down and we can't get funding for lunches, so they allow us to keep a balance. Textbook fund, we're sort of following we keep the funds in there, we carry them over year to year, waiting for the VDOE to approve adoptions. We're a little behind on adoptions because of the pandemic, in part.
Additional questions? Okay.
I just think it's important that the public know that there's a cause and effect, even at the school level. Whatever the federal government does, whatever the state does, they have deadlines. We have deadlines. We most likely won't meet none of our deadlines based off of what decision they make. So just keep that in mind when you start seeing things. Okay. So thanks.
These types of requests.
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely. Okay, now it's time for me to say, may I have a motion to approve the recommendation for the fund balance increase?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the requested use of additional child nutrition and textbook funds as presented.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Harris.
4.
Hunter.
4.
Amon. 4. Best. 4. Brown.
4.
Searles Law.
4.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to Section 5. We have some reports for this evening and information. 5.01, our WHRO presentation. Dr. Mitchell, will you introduce who's with us?
Thank you very much. This evening we have with us Mr. Bert Schmidt, who is the president and CEO of WHRO, and he does come before us each year to bring us a report and share some important information. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Searles Law, Dr. Mitchell, members of the board. Thank you for allowing me to speak with you. My name is Bert Schmidt. I'm the president and CEO of WHRO. With me is my vice president of education, Elmer Seward, hidden back there. I come to you every other year to talk about the services we provide you. Just right clicking throughout here? Here we go. Good. You have, if not a hard copy, at least in your documents, the impact statement we provide you each and every year. I'm just going to provide you a brief summary of what's in that report. And I come to you because you're one of the 21 school divisions that literally own the license to WHRO. We're the only media company in the entire country owned by collaboration of K-12 school divisions. We come together, we do things collaboratively throughout the region, save taxpayers money, and improve services for teachers and students. It's a great model. We start out with eMedia VA. We've had a contract with the State Department of Education for over a decade now, where we collect digital learning objects from national organizations like the Smithsonian, National Archives, Library of Congress, but more importantly with local organizations, Virginia entities from around the state, to bring to your teachers, to your students, to your parents, great learning objects, all correlated to the Virginia standards of learning, all tagged with various metadata so it's easily searchable, K through 12. Last year was used over 2 million times throughout the Commonwealth, and it's free of charge to all of your teachers, students, and parents. Field trips are tough lately, and we like to do what we call reverse field trips, where we have 3 kids vans that come out and focus on STEM, literacy, and environmental science. You can see through the pictures that the vans have the characters that the kids are all familiar with, all of our PBS Kids characters, Elmo and Big Bird and the rest of them. Our vans come out, our early childhood learner staff come out, work with your teams to help provide an amazing interactive experience for your kids, really K through 3. Before COVID, we used to do a lot of story times in classrooms. COVID happened, we had to stop doing that. We started up a series called Miss Martha Reads. Martha Razor, who heads our children's services department started a series on Facebook where we would read stories written by children. That series became so popular, about 10,000 views per week, that we've continued it since COVID has really kind of ended. We do lots of professional development for your teachers. You can see just a sampling there of some of the training we did last year. We used to do most of it in person at WHRO. Now, of course, a lot of it is done on Zoom. Occasionally still in the station, but a lot is done. And all the trainings listed in your packet. One of the big things you all care about are the online courses. The schools came to us 15 years ago and started requesting WHRO to start creating courses for all of you. We now are up to 27 courses. We're the manufacturer. We make the course, we give them to you, and then you use them however you see fit within your own policies. Could be fully online, could be hybrid, flipped. You can edit the course to meet your needs. They're meant to be used with your teachers, so it doesn't replace a teacher, but it is a great experience. I will tell you, because you're an owner, you get them for free. For schools around the state that want these, they pay about $10,000 per course for these courses, and they're being used throughout. We are in the process of finalizing our environmental science course. We'll be delivering that next year. And then we've got a couple data science courses that are in the pipeline to come out as well. So these are conversations we have regularly with the superintendents and your school board representatives. This video I'm about to show is focused on economics and personal finance, but it details what a course looks like and feels like. The traits you're going to see in this video could be applied to all 27 courses. This one specifically is focused on economics and personal finance.
Content used by teachers, students, families, and administrators across Virginia. Economics and Personal Finance is a full-year online course that is one example of WHRO content utilized by school divisions. This course has 13 modules filled with videos, learning objects, content, learning activities, assessments, reflections, and more. This digital content is aligned with Virginia's standards of learning, promotes Virginia's 5 C's, and provides students with multiple opportunities to demonstrate their knowledge of materials through real-world, authentic experiences. Students begin their studies in the course overview, where they discover how to navigate the course. They also meet TJ, a high school student, and his peers who are involved in an after-school economics and personal finance club. Students learn from TJ's financial decisions and mistakes through the comedic videos at the beginning of each module. Each module has several topics or lessons that allow students to check their knowledge before receiving an assignment. At the end of each module, students either complete a project, test, or both related to all of the module topics. There's also a module reflection where students can analyze what they have learned and make connections between the content and their everyday life. The module summary provides a digest of module information and prepares students for the next module. In addition to the intriguing content, a student resources section is filled with tools to help students with assignments and projects. We also create an instructor's guide to assist the teachers. WHRO's digital learning team works diligently to design aesthetically appealing content that represents people from diverse cultures and ethnicities and provides multiple learning pathways. Additionally, our content is fully accessible and includes options for students, like using a keyboard for navigation, providing ADA-compliant transcripts, printables, closed captioning, descriptive alt tags, reducing cognitive fatigue, and much more. Fortunately, our team can install our digital content into multiple learning management systems. This skill set helps us meet the needs of school divisions and provides options to use our content entirely online or in blended learning environments. Economics and Personal Finance is just one example of the breadth and depth of educational content that WHRO's Digital Learning Department creates and distributes to school divisions.
Again, that was focused on economics and personal finance, but you can extrapolate those traits to all the courses that we offer you. Again, they're on your servers within your learning management systems. We make them for you based on the request from our schools. You guys set the policies and the priorities of those courses. And of course, you want to make sure the end user of those courses is happy with what we produce. So we have a student advisory board made up of students from around our 21 school divisions. They come in, they work with our team to make sure that these courses are engaging, have fun, that keep them interested throughout taking the course. So it's important that we know that the end user enjoys the experience. We love to celebrate smart kids. We do that a number of ways. First off is our PBS Kids Writers Contest. We've been doing that for about 17, 18 years now. Children K through 5, they write and illustrate stories. They send them to us. We have a judging panel. We end up doing a TV show for the winners. And these stories are what Miss Martha reads. I mentioned earlier. These are the stories that she reads on the Facebook series that we do every Friday. The Spelling Bee. This will be the 17th year coming up. To your middle school kids, 6th through 8th. This is the time they should be signing up now for the Bee. I will tell you, you have 2 middle schools right now that have signed up. I know there's been a lot of stuff going on now. I just don't want that to fall through the cracks. This is the time of the year to sign up. You'll do your local Bees in your middle schools. The champions from all your middle schools come to WHRO in February for the regional Bee, and then the winner of that Bee goes to the National Spelling Bee. So we want to see good representation from the division at the regionals.
SPELLINGBEE.
Correct. Each year, middle school students from across the region compete for the opportunity to represent our area in the Scripps National Spelling Bee. The stage is set and the competition is fierce. Who will take home the title of Spelling Bee champion?
Watch the WHRO Spelling Bee.
Watch the Spelling Bee April 1st.
Watch the Spelling Bee April 1st at 2 p.m. on WHRO.
I think some of those guys were auditioning to be on my air.
Indeed.
Also, the Great Computer Challenge. Some of you may have been young enough to have actually participated in the Great Computer Challenge. We're going on year number 39. Teams K through 12 come together. They compete in various computer softwares and languages. It's an experience on the campus of ODU. For many students, it's the first time ever really to spend some time on the campus. So it's just an amazing experience. You can see some of those trophies are bigger than the kids themselves. So it's a really fun experience. As board members, you care about your investment. You invest $3 per student with WHRO. Last year, that equated to $75,000. You receive savings in value of $926,000. That's a 12-to-1 return on your investment.
It is.
And I'm happy to take any questions.
Board members, questions?
Chair, one question is, so if I'm a principal watching this presentation right now and I want my school to participate in the Spelling Bee, how do I do that?
Elmer? Spelling Bee.
Spelling Bee. We have online, we have the information about how you can enroll your school, but if you want to shoot me an email.
Or just call the station. We'll take care of you. Yeah, just give us, we'll get you to the right people. Yeah. Or I can give you my card. Here, I'll give you my card right now.
All right, great.
And I will also ask Ms. Barnett tomorrow to talk with the middle school principals. At the principal.
Just don't. It's a busy time around here, so we don't want that to slip through the cracks. You want good news, and Spelling Bee champs are good news.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation and your dedication to our division.
Thank you very much. Okay. Have a good night.
Okay, moving further along in section 5, reports and information, we have 5.02, proposed FY24 legislative program. Dr. Mitchell, who do we have with us?
At this time, we have Mr. Pat Finneran, who will be coming before you to give us a brief overview of the proposed FY24 legislative program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Mitchell. Good evening, Chairman Stroh's Law, Vice Chairman Dr. Best, members of the school board, and everybody in the audience and watching. It's that time of year when we take a look at the upcoming General Assembly session and legislative issues of importance to the school board. It's the board's opportunity to convey what you consider key issues for the 2024 session, and the draft that you've seen is also posted on board docs for the community to review as well. And during the session, of course, legislators will introduce hundreds of education bills, as they always do, and we'll do our best to keep you up to date and involved as the legislation goes forward on that. Quickly, General Assembly timeline is up there. I'm not going to go over it because it's pretty self-evident. One of the big things tomorrow is, I believe it's tomorrow, Thursday, the VSBA Delegate Assembly, in which you will be there, and I believe Chairman Stroh's Law is the delegate for this year. So. And also, we do have a Take Your Legislator to School Day, in which we'll be highlighting our preschool program and dual immersion program. So we're very excited about seeing our legislators and other community members at that event. Legislative wrap up quickly. You all know the budget was delayed, I think, for the longest time in history this year. It wasn't actually signed into law until after school started. So that caused some problems. And we want to obviously encourage the General Assembly to fix that and be quicker about their business this coming year. We do want to thank them for the providing some additional funds in a way of some state share of pay raises mid-year and a partial lift on arbitrary funding cap for support staff. So some good things did come out of last year's General Assembly, and we do want to recognize those. This year's key priorities, last year there were 5. This year there are 2 more, which are the JLARC recommendations and re-benchmarking. I'll go over all of these very, very quickly, because I think brevity will be appreciated tonight. First of all, the JLARC recommendations. What's JLARC? It's the Joint Legislative Audit and Review Commission. It's a state agency or commission that works to take a deep dive into different subjects. They looked at K-12 funding, and bottom line is they found that K-12 funding in Virginia was very underfunded when compared with the other 49 states. About 14% less than other states. They said that it translated into about $1,900 per pupil, which would translate, just to give you a rough estimate of how much underfunding for Newport News Public Schools, that's about $50 million annually. So they're making a lot of recommendations in here, and to undo some of the things that were done during the Great Recession to cut costs for the state for public education. One of the biggest priority positions is re-benchmarking, and that's really just when the state every 2 years comes back and says, okay, we need to update for enrollment, increase, decline, inflation, some other formula changes, all technical things. We were a little worried that the re-benchmarking number hadn't come out yet, because it usually comes out in later October, early November. Came out today at a House of Appropriations Committee meeting. They estimated it to be $1.3 billion to update public education for this coming 2 years. So we'll be working on that to make sure that we can find that money, they can find that money in the budget to provide it to the schools. Teacher recruitment, retention, and salaries. That's been a perennial issue for everybody in the state, really everybody around the country. And though Virginia has made significant investments in teacher pay and programs, but inflation and increasing pay from other states really have conspired to kind of keep us at the status quo. We're still about $9,000 below the national average. I've seen things from 40th nationally, some people say 22nd. It sort of depends on how and when you measure it, but we're way below the national average. And the Superintendent's Association has called for a pay raise in each of the next 2 years of a minimum of 4% to try to increase salaries. Of course, that will probably just keep it around inflation. So, yeah. Another priority position, school facility funding. The state report says that there's about $25 billion needed if we were to replace all schools over 50 years old. Of course, that would never be done. But they did dedicate one-time funding of $1.25 billion, and you can tell that that's really not for across the state. That's not enough to really to scratch the surface on all the needs of public education schools. Most of our buildings are more than 50 years old and need not a lot of work. So Newport News Schools has put together really a nice package of three positions. One calls for a referendum on school construction that would allow localities to increase the sales tax by up to 1% for a specified amount of time for a specific school construction program, and then that would go away. Right now, 9 localities in Virginia have that right. With the change in the General Assembly, we think we might be able to get that through this year and see if we can get the governor to sign that. The other 2 are some about School Facilities Capital Reserve Fund and streamlining public-private infrastructure laws. Both of those really give more autonomy to school boards to chart their own future with the money that they have for school construction and renovation. Standards of quality, I'm not going to really go over this. This has been a perennial issue. The State Board of Education several years ago recommended about 11 standards of quality. And standards of quality are what drive funding for public education in Virginia. And it recommended about 11 of them be updated significantly. Right now, I think about 3 or 4 have been updated in the past few General Assembly sessions. And we're just, as a school board position, is to get on with the business of completing all of the updates to the standards of quality. Eliminating the staff support cap. This is something that a lot of people have questions about, and what it really means is that in 2010, the state, because of the Great Recession, said we're not going to fund as many support positions, and those I think there's 7 or 8 different categories of support positions, and what happened is that took like $350 million a year out of the budget statewide for school divisions and support positions. So what happened was localities and school boards, if they wanted to keep support positions, had to find their own money for this. And so a lot of school divisions couldn't do that, or if they did want to do it, they had to work with their localities to increase funding from the localities. So this General Assembly is getting close to eliminating that, and we hope that they'll bring it home next year. Technology, equipment, internet access. The pandemic, of course, really highlighted the digital divide. Kids were home for a year or so. We had to produce not only computers for everybody, internet access for everybody, the people to help support all that. And right now, there is not a really good state formula for funding this technology equipment and internet access in the way that we now do it. What's helped us out a lot is federal funding has been provided for some of that, but that will end in FY24, and so we'll have kind of a funding cliff that school divisions really around the country will have to look at and say, how are we going to keep doing this if we don't have that type of funding? And so we're asking the state to look at that. We've asked the state to look at that for actually a number of years now, but it's getting very, very timely, of course. Next steps, that's really, in a nutshell and briefly, the legislative program. Again, I haven't gone over a lot of the continuing positions because they've been in there before, and I just wanted to kind of gloss over some of these priority positions and see if you have any questions, comments about that, or suggestions.
Okay, board members, do you have questions for Mr. Finneran? Mr. Brown.
Just asked a question about, we talked about computers and technology and maintaining our technology infrastructure for the students.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any thoughts or ideas about a legislative proposal for supporting that by a formula?
At this point, we have not formulated some sort of position on that, but it's something we can definitely work on. Actually, we probably need to work with our state organizations like VSBA and BASS on that.
And so that's part of why I'm mentioning it now, because
now's the time.
Right, and as we're the annual conference starts tomorrow, and there's opportunity for us to talk to other school boards around the state. That's something that we should probably avail ourselves of, is that other school boards are all across the state are in the same position as us, and I believe it was the cost is roughly about $5 million a year to keep our technology and computers up for students.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think I saw a session on that. So.
Yeah, it's not our concern alone. That's for sure. Yes.
Okay. Other questions from the board? Okay, thank you so
All right.
much, and thank you for all the work that you are doing and will do for Take Your Legislators to Work Day.
Yes, we're looking forward to that. Thank you very much.
Thank
Okay,
you.
have a good night.
Thank you. So finally, from Section 5, Reports and Information, we have 5.03, Advisory Committee Updates. Dr. Mitchell, we're all tongue-tied tonight.
Thank you.
Dr. Mitchell.
Thank you very much. If you recall, we started 3 advisory committees last year, and we wanted to provide an update. So tonight we have coming before you Dr. Parrott and Dr. Ransom. Dr. Parrott will begin, and Dr. Ransom will be the closer, and they will provide us an update on the 3 committees.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, Searles Law, and Vice Chair Dr. Best, distinguished school board members, Dr. Mitchell, and our viewing public. I'm Lakeisha Parrott, Director of Elementary School Leadership, and I had the great opportunity to co-facilitate the Family Engagement Advisory Committee along with Dr. Karen Blizzard, a member of a professional counseling team here in Newport News. And on behalf of Dr. Blizzard and Ms. Lynch, I would like to thank the 39 participants that gave of their time and their lived experiences to support this committee's work. That includes Newport News staff, parents and guardians, and community members. The diversity of our committee truly reflected the wide range of perspectives and insights that make us Newport News Public Schools. So again, I'd like to thank our 39 participants that served on this committee. You always take care of me, Ms. Price. The charge of this committee was to review and provide feedback on current family engagement procedures as indicated by the recent division's audit, and to serve as thought partners on ways to promote partnerships, provide feedback on division priorities as it relates to family engagement in our division. In the spirit and the words of Nelson Mandela, may your choices reflect your hopes, not your fears. We engaged our committee members in an exercise during our first meeting to gather their attitudes around family engagement in Newport News. We led with the hopes as to ensure we would meet the expectations of what our committee could accomplish together, and acknowledged the fears that could possibly get in the way. Through the work of this committee, 5 considerations are being brought forward which could assist in strengthening our family and community engagement efforts here in Newport News. On this slide, you see the meeting formats. The meetings took place on March 15th, April 19th, May 25th, and June 12th. The meeting goals, as you see here highlighted on the slide, were important factors of each of our meetings. I would like to take some time to highlight meeting 3, the day in the life of a family and community engagement specialist. This was a powerful session, very powerful session, that provided great insight to our committee members and informed the considerations that I will share with you in a few moments. As I previously shared, the third meeting of our committee spotlighted the impactful work of family and community engagement specialists. We were joined by Janice Nix, representing Carver Elementary, Lauren Hunter, representing Marshall Early Learning Center, Crystal Roundtree, representing Sedgefield Elementary, I hope I don't destroy her name, but Isaiah Koger, representing Kiln Creek and Norwood Meadows Elementary Schools, and Eric Battle, representing Huntington and Crittenden Middle Schools. They shared how instructional materials were solicited, the building of partnerships, and the creation of volunteer opportunities on their campuses. They also shared how they support school operations and collaboration with school-based PTAs to enhance school and family connections. As a result of the 4 sessions, the committee brought forward the following recommendations on this slide, which includes to prioritize a family and community engagement specialist in every high school, which would make FACE, which is Family and Community Engagement, FACE, prevalent in all schools pre-K-12. The committee felt strongly that access to current and potential partnerships should be centralized in one place for both the public to access as well as participate. The committee supported the division audit recommendations that called for the FACE office to refine the overall vision and goals to be more closely aligned with the needs of the school and the community, and to create a larger vision that includes tapping into the talents that exist in Newport News communities. Central to the 4 considerations was to prioritize improved communication among Newport News staff and community partners. So what's next for the FACE office? So what's next for family and community engagement, led by Karen Lynch and her team? We acknowledge FACE specialists play a crucial role with forming positive relationships and connecting the school to the community and each child's family. Ms. Lynch and her team will continue to work with senior staff to explore the options for possible expansion of the FACE team to include FACE specialists at high schools. In efforts to create a centralized resource bank, FACE leadership is partnering with Newport News Education Foundation and the Communication Department to create a centralized resource bank accessible to all schools and community partners. This will provide valuable educational materials, volunteer opportunities, and a donation point of contact in one central location, which was very important to our committee members. To strengthen communication, a weekly newsletter has been created to highlight FACE events, and this is shared with Newport News department leaders. The FACE website has been updated and now includes additional community resources. Each FACE specialist sets monthly goals aligned to their school's continuous school improvement plans. This helps our FACE team align their events and resources not only to empower students, but to strengthen our instructional program. Ms. Lynch will continue to meet with the Family Engagement Advisory Committee to increase community communication. The next meeting is set for November 28th, and these meetings will provide opportunities for collaboration, keep members informed of family engagement work, and provide opportunities to gather valuable input from members of the community, parents, and staff. And next you will hear from Dr. Ransom, who will present on the rights and responsibilities and the School Safety Advisory Committee's work.
Thank you, Dr. Parrott.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Parrott. Good evening, Madam Chair Searles Law, Vice Chair Best, members of the board, and Dr. Mitchell. Each year, I come before you to discuss proposed revisions to the Rights and Responsibilities Handbook. This year, I presented those changes on June 20th. The book was subsequently approved at the August meeting. As a reminder, the Rights and Responsibilities Handbook is a tool that helps us in our mission to ensure all students graduate citizen ready. It provides guidance to our students, our families, and our staff, and details the many options we have available to us as we address student conduct. There are several phases to our revision process. After reviewing guidelines and recommendations, we have a long-standing practice of gathering stakeholder input from multiple groups. Finally, our proposals are reviewed by senior staff. While each year we form a committee to review the handbook, this year the opportunity was opened to all citizens of the city of Newport News. So in addition to the students, parents, teachers, and staff members that make up this annual committee, we also had community members with the expertise and vested interest in student success who extended their thinking to this important work. The members of the Rights and Responsibilities Handbook Advisory Committee are a group of parents, teachers, administrators, community members, and students who have become experts in the rights and responsibilities of NMPS students. Using a data-driven decision model, the committee addressed classroom managed behaviors and finalized changes to the leveled administrative responses to student behavior. Each behavior code was reviewed, its usage assessed, and NNPS practices were aligned to state code. I would like to remind you of their renewed commitment this school year. Now that the expansive and exhaustive work around the Code of Conduct is complete, the committee, undaunted, has decided to remain a unit and meet monthly to review other systems related to student expectations. The next policy under review is the cell phone policy, followed by the dress code and a revamping of in-school suspension. The November meeting held this past Thursday, the committee reflected on completed work, reviewed discipline data from the start of school until now, and prepped for the upcoming policy work. In January, this committee will join NMPS instructional staff to participate in professional learning with national experts on student behavior and student discipline. I'm excited to provide an update to the Safety Advisory Committee work led by Mr. Stewart. Now, we have never garnered this level of input from the community before regarding school safety and security. This Safety and Security Advisory Committee had 12 recommendations. The first recommendation was that clear backpacks be mandatory for all students, which NMPS has supplied. The next 5 recommendations you see listed here were incorporated into NMPS's division-wide crisis plan. The committee also made several recommendations that were already in motion in the school division. They include social-emotional supports for students in crisis, anonymous reporting, and building-level crisis plans. The last recommendation entailed moving to a mandatory use of student IDs and having all NMPS students take pictures each year. There are steps we are currently working on to fulfill this recommendation. The next meeting will take place on January 10th. During this meeting, committee members will review the current standard operating procedures for our NMPS security officers. At this time, we will answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from our board members? We really appreciate the update, and I'm glad we were able to do it publicly so that the community could see the input that they've given to our committees. So I thank you all for orchestrating and mining through the information that we got from them. But then I also really thank our community for sticking with us and taking on some heavy hitters in the future. So cell phone use, dress code, those are huge.
Yes.
Right.
So thank you guys for coming. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Harris has a question.
Mr. Harris, yes.
Yeah, I encourage the public to please get in touch with Dr. Ransom to help support him on this. Why? Because cell phones, dress code, you know, a pretty big highlights in the community.
Yes.
Just let you know. So please volunteer, help him out so we can get a wide range of views. All right? Thanks.
Thank you. Absolutely. Finally, in this section, we have 5.04, the attendance report, 5.05, membership report, 5.06, the construction report. Board members, you have received a copy of this report. Are there any questions at this time? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to item 5.07, comments by the superintendent. Dr. Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a few brief comments tonight. Want to share with you that Christopher Newport's University President, William Kelly, continues his series of community walks, which included a visit to Riverside Elementary School yesterday. Over 150 people, including CNU students and staff, community members, and police officers, participated in the walk from the campus to Riverside and back. Principal Tim Edwards and the Riverside Bloomin' Bears drumline greeted the visitors with a performance in front of the school. Special thanks to our board chair, Lisa Searles Law, Vice Mayor Curtis Bethany, Acting City Manager Alan Archer, and Police Chief Steve Drew for their participation. Continuing on with good news, congratulations to Discovery STEM Academy's first Lego robotics team. Thanks to their successful performance during the Virginia DC regional competition at Crittenton Middle School on November the 4th, the team earned the Innovative Project Award and is advancing to the state semifinals in December. Congratulations are also in order for Dutrow Elementary and Booker T. Washington for earning first place in robot design in their divisions. Teams representing Carver, Deer Park, General Stanford, Norwood Meadows, McIntosh, Sedgefield, Hines, and Passage also competed. And rounding this out, the school counseling department is hosting Mega College and Career Night tomorrow, Wednesday, November 15th from 5 to 7:30 p.m. at Menchville High School. College and university representatives will be on site, and some are offering on-site acceptances with prearranged appointments. Financial aid support will also be available, and an array of businesses and vendors will be on hand to talk with students about entering the workforce after graduation. So students and parents, please contact the school counselor. I would like to remind all families that schools will be closed for students Wednesday through Friday, November 22nd through the 24th. Offices will be open on a half-day schedule on Wednesday, November 22nd. Please spend some time with your family and friends, relax and rejuvenate, and enjoy your break. And that concludes my remarks.
Thank you so much. We will move on to item 6, another opportunity to hear from the public. Are there any additional cards that I need to make sure that I have in my stack here? Okay, great. The first two speakers, John R. Wright and Darren Pittman, please.
Yes, my name's John Wright, and I've been a resident of Newport News since '78. Put 3 sons through the Newport News school system. Have 6 grandchildren, some of which are going to be going to Newport News, and 2 great-grandchildren, 2 young men, and no telling where they'll go. I want to thank you all for your decision on on Governor Youngkin, and I want to thank you for your decisions on his policy as they apply to this school district, this area. What I would like to read is something I brought with me to the last meeting, and the Lord's been putting it on my heart that I need to read it out to everybody. It says, it's called Daddy Daddy by Candy Dawson Boyd and Floyd Cooper. It says, when I be there, Daddy Daddy be there, when I dye my hair green or cut it off, or pierce my ears and nose, when my music rocks the house, but grab me when I wander too far from home, too close to danger I cannot see. Daddy, Daddy, be there. Let me sit with you. Let me hold your spotted hand. Let my eyes be yours, my ears as well. I will remember when you were there for me and asked for nothing in return. Now I am here for you, Daddy. I love you. Thank you.
Thank you. Darren Pittman.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First and foremost, I just want to thank each of you for the work that you're doing. I know it's hard. I know you're dealing with a lot of people. And not only that, you're also managers of several students. So I'd just like to thank you just for adopting the model policy from Governor Youngkin. I was actually also doing more research just into the bullying. You know, our school system, I mean, we're doing an amazing job. We have been doing an amazing job. I think there's a lot of confusion that's trying to enter into our school systems. And I believe if we continue to focus on, you know, the reading, writing, arithmetics, you know what I mean, and educating our students, I think we're going to have an amazing citizens walk outside of the school system into Newport News to be productive citizens. So again, I thank you all for all that you're doing to support our students and also our parents and teachers and staffs as well. Thank you.
The next two are Vincent Johnson and Sarah, I think this is Krasaksi. Thank you. Thanks for writing it clearly.
Good evening. My name is Vincent Johnson, and I'm a grandfather to 11. 7 go to the Newport News school system. I just want to thank you for this opportunity to speak up and voice my opinion. First, I want to thank the Newport News School Board for following the guidance of the new model policies by our governor. I truly believe that the school board did the right thing because these policies are in line with the federal and state non-discrimination laws. I'm a man of faith, and I have a personal relationship with my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And to see how people were being deceived and bullied over these transgender issues brought much pain to my heart. God created male and female, no in-betweens, nothing added and nothing taken away. The Lord said our bodies are a holy temple to be used by God for God's glory. We know that all school boards in Virginia won't adhere right away, but we truly believe in prayer and fasting. You see, we fight on our knees. About a month or so ago, my church hosted a documentary on gender confusion / gender transformation. This documentary was so sad and disturbing, it brought tears to my eyes. My heart was in so much pain to see how our young kids were messing up their lives and bodies. It was hard and painful to watch after their transformation, how much pain and agony they went through, and how it tore families apart. I pray all eyes will see this documentary. Lives were being lost because of all this gender confusion. I truly believe we took a step forward by this new model policy, and I believe we can work together on this and other issues. It is so important that parents learn the truth so they can lead and guide their children in the right way. Again, I want to thank you for standing with this new model policy on transgender issues. I really believe that we can work together in the future. This demonstrates that we can move forward on more pressing issues. I want to thank you for your time and your commitment that you put in on the school board. We are a praying church, and we have been praying daily for our school board and our schools. I truly believe that you all want to share a common goal to provide a positive learner environment for our children. We know that you care for our children and teachers. I know that we are living in the last of last days, and we know that things will get tougher, but there are some things we can avoid by prayer and fasting and trusting God. Again, I just want to thank you for giving me this time to speak up. May the love of God and peace of God be upon the school board. Thank you.
Sarah Krasaksi. I got it.
That's okay. You did well.
Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Mitchell and members of the board.
I thank you again for letting us come and speak to you again and take your time, because I know you're busy. I know you work hard. I do also want to thank you for approving the transition. Let me get that right. The policies that the governor made, and thank you for adopting it. We have been sitting here listening to everyone. Everyone has a right to speak, and everyone has an opinion. But it leaves my heart really heavy to hear some of these people, these young people that have been through more than I ever thought anybody could ever go through. And my heart goes out to them, and we pray for them. We do. And we ask that God give them comfort and peace. We ask also that God give you people the wisdom and the knowledge to do what you need to do, because you do not have an easy job. And I don't know how you do it either. But I want to thank you again for letting us speak and for adopting the policy. Thank you.
The next two speakers are Marta Coy, and I believe this is James Despres.
Good evening. Thank you very much for your time, for allowing me to speak. I don't know any of you. You guys certainly don't know me. So I will give you the opportunity to meet me just a little bit. I am a community member. I have 6 children. I am a master's prepared nurse in this community. I don't know any of your beliefs, spiritual or otherwise, religious or otherwise. I won't presume that you believe in a God. I won't presume that you don't believe in a God. I don't know if you are gay, if you are straight, if you identify as bisexual, heterosexual. I don't know anything about that. You don't know anything about that about myself either. So why am I here? Why now? My children are all grown. My children don't even go to school in this county. We moved here after our children were grown and are now functioning adults out in various communities. Some in this community, some not. One of my children, however, has worked with special needs kids, adults with intellectual disabilities, and is training to be an online counselor for military personnel dealing with mental health issues. He's 26 years old. He's dealing with some pretty heavy stuff, with some grown adults that are dealing with heavy, heavy stuff in this world. He left a high school after coming out to me as transgender when he was 15 years old. He wasn't fitting in. He lost his very best friend after coming out. That was devastating to him. Absolutely devastating. I homeschooled him for a year because that was the best option for us. And that was while I worked full-time as a nurse. At the time, actually, I was working as a nurse practitioner. So I homeschooled for a year, let him work out his kinks, found him the best counselor I could, did what I needed to do to come to terms and how it fit in with our family, because it affected all of our family. My parents, my sister, her children, it affected all of us. It takes a while to learn to use a new pronoun. Takes a while, long while. Luckily, we found another school that accepted him, welcomed him. They were happy to use a different pronoun. They didn't need me to sign anything. But I do recall the counselor coming and saying, I overheard what you guys were saying when you were signing your papers to enroll him in school. My sister's gay. And I thought, it's a shame that you feel you have to whisper it like cancer in the old days. That's a shame. We shouldn't have to whisper things like that to be who we are. That shouldn't happen.
Thank you. James?
Hello, Board. My name is James Despres. I'm a father of 4 in the area. I'm an active member of the society. Disappointed is an understatement between you guys, the communication from our transportation, to our schools. We are over 30% undermanned for our teachers. We're over 100 employees short for school bus drivers. We get messages, these are when we're supposed to pick up our kids. Then we abide by them. Next thing you know, we're getting text messages at 11 o'clock in the morning. Now they have been changed. Changes like this need to be sent out with notice, with understanding. We have kids that are in school 7, 8, 9 hours a day. By the time they get home off the bus, they still have homework to do. This is ridiculous. We call the school. We don't get responses for days. We call up here. They're not in the office. They're at lunches. It's unacceptable. I expect a lot more from the head of the schools. I expect a lot more from the administration, the staff. We don't have crossing guards. It's been going on 3 years. Where are our crossing guards? Do one of these kids have to die before you guys stand up and do something? But you're asking for $2.8 million in books. But we don't have lockers to put them in. We have book bags that fall apart. Where does this ridiculousness end? I want my children to go to school, learn, come home, and still be children. Not have to be worried about where's my bus? Am I going to get a ride home? Am I going to be able to do my homework? It's ridiculous. Why don't we let our children be children? We're not worried about pronouns. Schools are for learning, not what you're called. I don't care about your sexual orientation. I don't care that you're changing the school pickups or you're worried about when these buses are or why do we not have staff. Pay them more so we can get the drivers, we can get the teachers, we can have the adequate communication that we all need. And that's all I have to say. Most of you know me and you know how to reach me. If you have any questions, you guys have my number. You have a great day.
The next two are Valerie Fashion and David, I think this is Bruckman.
Good evening, Dr. Mitchell, school board members, and viewing audience. My name is Valerie Fashion, and I am an advocate for the children in the school district. I would like to thank Dr. Mitchell, the school board members, and the NNPS administration for choosing a new curriculum for the Newport News Public School District. Education is the process of acquiring knowledge and information that leads to a successful future, and hopefully this curriculum, along with the dedicated teachers, will lead to better test scores, knowledge, and skills that the students will be able to use so that they can become productive citizens. I would like to request a training session for all our substitutes so that we'll be able to use the smart boards that's installed in these schools so that we'll be able to continue the daily lesson plans when the teacher is out. The substitutes this year were not given any training this school year, and everyone should be informed and trained on the new changes for the school year. Students are still being given spelling tests without being given any spelling words to study. This is a disadvantage to the students when they have to take an assessment test and they have to spell words that they have never seen. As a sidebar, Governor Youngkin has chosen not to send his children to Virginia Public Schools, but rather to National Cathedral School and St. Albans School, twin private all-girls and boys school in D.C., where under the auspices of the Episcopal Church. DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion, has been a priority at the National Cathedral for many years. Governor Youngkin was also a member of the board from 2016 to 2019. These private schools also teach critical race theory. Governor Youngkin is a hypocrite, and he has introduced a policy that his children won't be following. So I would like the board to reconsider adopting his policies that he won't even allow his children to be under. Thank you for your time.
David Brakeman.
Brackman, thank you.
Can you say your last name for me?
Brackman.
Brackman. Thank you, David.
I am disappointed in the adoption without a vote of trans student policies, even more extreme than what Youngkin proposed. I campaigned for, I believe, a majority of you sitting here now with the expectation that you would not support this. And without a vote, I would like to see who I have to reconsider doing that for. Can I see a show of hands of who currently supports the new transgender policies? Nobody. Nobody supports them. Incredible. I don't see why we can't repeal them. The rallying cry of parents' rights is made in bad faith. Rights have limits. A child's gender identity is not a parent's decision. As an analogy, plenty of states, non-Marxist states of Alaska, Minnesota, New Mexico, do not have parental notification or consent requirements for seeking an abortion, which is similar to coming out in that it is a sensitive medical decision in terms of seeking counseling. And telling a parent who is not trusted with this information results in, probabilistically, being homelessness and loss of continuing education. I invite further review of the policies. If everyone has a pen and wants to review some of the line items for a thorough consideration that you've all been lauded for. The FAQ number 6 says that parents don't have the right to update their kids' pronouns if a staff member's right to say whatever they want as far as the First Amendment supersedes a parent's right to support their child's choice of pronouns. It goes official record, parental override, and then staff choice. But the 3D4 has it, the actual policy, 3D6, says that 3D4 supersedes it instead. 30 seconds. So when people say this doesn't support bullying at all, you can give all the lip service you want, but what results from policies like these is more bullying. Like if I as a teacher can say no. Spaghetti Monster says no. Mr. Searles Law. That constitutes bullying, and it emboldens others to bully likewise. I regret that I'm out of time, but I look forward to hearing you and speaking again.
The next two speakers are Natisha Elliott and Bron Lee.
Good evening, Dr. Mitchell, School Board Committee. How you doing, everyone? It's been a long evening. I just wanted to start out by my husband and I greatly, we both thank you for taking the time to review Youngkin's revision on the transgender policy. I know it was a long and hard decision. I know you guys took the time, quality time that it took to get to a point to make that decision. We greatly appreciate you listening to all voices, all concerns, including the parents. We also are grieved to hear about the testimonies that some people that do not have understanding parents about anything they're going through in life, and they can't come to them. So our heart do grieve for them. Some of us do have testimonies of not having understanding parents, so you guys are not alone. I do also want to share that I do believe that parents need to be a part of the life decisions that their children are making. We need to be there to guide them, impart wisdom, understanding, and most importantly, to love them unconditionally, the healthiest way possible. So we thank you for including the parents into something that's integral and important and life-changing, and we greatly are appreciative to every one of you. Thank you again, and have a good night.
Ron Lee. Hi.
Good evening. My name is Ron Lee, and last month I asked you to not adopt the model policies. My grandparents would have had something to say about these policies as they are written. My grandparents loved America, the symbolism of our flag, and the hope we give to those living in oppression. My grandparents grew up poor. As kids, they sold sugar beets for food and coal for heat. My Oma told me about a day where she was starving and a Jewish neighbor gave her canned food to hold her over till the next meal. She'd never seen a can before at that time. The happiest time for my Oma and Opa was when they were in the League of German Girls and the Hitler Youth. In these organizations, they would get fed, sing songs, play, and learn about their country's propaganda. They never understood why the government always demonized Jews. Their childhood was confusing. Their state was telling them that there was something wrong with their neighbors, yet these neighbors often helped them survive poverty. During the war, my Oma ended up as a nurse and witnessed thousands of Germans burned to death by Allied firebombings, while my Opa fought in the SS. He was eventually captured at the Battle of the Bulge by the Americans. As a POW, he learned who Americans were and loved playing soccer with the guards. Later in life, Opa would take every chance he could to meet Americans and thank them for their service. No one was prouder of me becoming an American airman than my German Opa. I earned a bachelor's degree in German life and culture to understand how a great man like him could have joined the SS, and so many others follow such a fascist party. Hitler was elected as a normal candidate for the Nazi Party, and he then changed the laws and institutions to keep himself and his party in power. Nazis did not campaign on killing Jews. They campaigned on the economy, the greater German state, and the erosion of mainstream morality. Human rights eroded little by little, but not for the Catholics and not for the cis Germans. It was the others that were targeted, and most people didn't even know the others. On September 23, 1942, the last Jews of my hometown were shipped away and killed. Before 1935, Berlin was known as the gay capital of the world. Then the local government closed gay clubs and outlawed same-sex intimacy. In 1936, the federal Nazi government adopted the local laws, rounded up homosexuals, and hunted those hiding, using official records and informants to exterminate gays from the European continent. My grandfather felt so betrayed by his country and the Catholic Church that he renounced both of them and lived the rest of his life in fear. Opa raised me to hate fascism and anyone who tries to trample on human rights. The local government sets the tone. Please do not adopt policy that others, some students, do not have teachers be informants on others, do not document others in official records. Silence is violence, and the struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions.
The next two are Reverend Michael Burnett and Michelle Foster.
Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, Madam Superintendent, members of the board, thank you so much for giving us a chance to speak. I, too, am a man of faith. I'm a minister. I'm a campus minister at Christopher Newport University, and I work with local congregations all over this city. I minister to families, to children, to students here in Newport News on a regular basis. My ministry has been grounded in the latter part of Matthew 25 when Jesus says, "That which you have done or not done to the least of these," and he goes on to name a group of marginalized and vulnerable people. "Whatever you have or haven't done to them," he says, "you've done to me." I'm not here to preach to you, but I am here to explain why I'm troubled by the lack of efficacy being offered to those most affected by the adoption of these policies. There's an old maxim in governance. In Latin it reads, "Nihil de nobis sine nobis." In a somewhat poetic English translation, it reads, "Nothing about us without us." In the last couple months, and I know I have a limited scope here, I've heard trans youth and parents of trans youth speak, none in favor of these policies. I've heard educators speak, little to none in favor of these policies. The trans youth have tried to warn us about the potential harm these policies can do. Our educators have tried to warn us about the damage they could do to the relationships between them and their students. And, let's call it what it is, the additional stress of being an informant, truly, for our students. And yes, there is an escape clause. If a teacher truly believes a student is at great risk of personal harm, they don't have to call the teachers, they have to call a social worker. That still puts already overstressed and underpaid educators at even more responsibility. Those most directly impacted by these policies have been some of the most vocal against them, yet I fail to see where they've been given much, if any, consideration in the final product. I'm also troubled by the lack of representative democracy. I understand the superintendent was well within her rights to modify existing policy without a vote. But given the contention of these policies, given the controversial nature of it, I understand it's a legal thing. I think it's questionably ethical. And I ask you, does the board have the authority to vote and override that implementation? Because if so, the board has an opportunity to do something beautiful here. The opportunity to stand up for those whom you were elected to serve, our students and our educators, whose voices have been unheard at best and ignored at worst. The opportunity to stand up against the erosion of responsible representative democracy and to insist that nothing be put into practice about a population without the intentional inclusion of their input. And frankly, the opportunity to let the voters of Newport News see which of their duly elected representatives is willing to stand for these things or not. If it's within your power, I implore you to override the implementation of these policies and continue this conversation with more voices included. Thank you.
Michelle Foster.
Sorry about that. Just need to turn off the battery mode. Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Foster. I've only been a Hampton Roads resident for a short period of time, but I come to you as a community member, a older sister to a queer sibling, and a transgender woman, out and proud. I wanted to question the legality of changing the existing policy rather than actually addressing any kind of emotional or historical perspectives on the issue. First things first, I would like you to vote to repeal Governor Youngkin's policy. Again, these are guidelines, they're not mechanisms. They are basically just suggestions. And they're suggestions that counteract enacted policy by the Virginia House. Referencing House Bill 145, Section 22.1 and 22.3, each school board shall adopt policies that are consistent but may be more comprehensive than model policies developed by the Department of Education in pursuant to subsection A, which is referencing any policies, standards, and best practices according to evidence-based organizations. This policy from Governor Youngkin doesn't represent that at all. It doesn't represent the spirit of the law, which has not been rescinded. That's still been on the books since 2020, and other legislation that has been put forward against LGBTQ students and against the queer community as a whole in schools has failed completely. The same has proven true for elections. We just recently had elections not only within Virginia, but across the rest of the United States. And it proved without a shadow of a doubt that these are not things that the American populace want imposed on their schools or on their society as a whole. I think putting these policies into place without any kind of vote or any kind of further discussion just opens us up to an erosion of democracy for the most part. And I don't think that's right. I am an active duty service member. I don't speak in that capacity today, but I put my life on the line for the democratic process, for this country. And it really saddens me to see that get eroded away at even the lowest level at a school board, right? So I also wanted to touch on some legislative decisions that were made, particularly the Grimm case. That cited transgender issues as protected under Title IX, and this guidance change would absolutely undermine that. You'd open yourself up to a similar kind of legal battle from another student if they so choose to take that up. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So the last 3 speakers we have are Jennifer Herget, Tyler Eldred, and Effie McMillan.
I would like to thank this school board for not mandating the COVID-19 jab to the students. Several local school boards did mandate the jab. Another was discussing putting money aside for their athletes for potential heart problems, and this breaks my heart. Knowing our history is important. How many times has our government experimented on the American people? The Tuskegee experiment in 1932 that went on for years, psychedelics in 1947, MK-Ultra. In the 70s and 80s, it was AIDS brought to you by a hepatitis B experimental vaccine in the CDC. The cure, AZT, killed thousands and was brought to you by Anthony Fauci. Watch the Dallas Buyers Club and read The Real Anthony Fauci by Robert F. Kennedy. In 1990, the CDC inoculated more than 1,500 babies in Los Angeles against measles. Later, the CDC confessed that the vaccine was experimental. I could go on with the experiments in the U.S., but what about India? The DTaP vaccine brought to you by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, where girls got seizures, cancer, and 7 died. India kicked the Gates Foundation out of their country. What about Africa? It was the tetanus vaccine that left women infertile, caused spontaneous abortions and bleeding. This is happening now. Out of 76,000 women, 52% are having menstrual issues after the COVID jab. Go to mycyclestory.com. The Bible tells us not to fear. How many times? But the mainstream media was paid by our government to keep us in fear so that we will willingly take an experimental vaccine. When you watch TV, how many times have you heard brought to you by Pfizer? These commercials pay for what you hear in between the commercials. It's called propaganda, which was made legal in 2012 with the repeal of the Smith-Mundt Act. Africa and India are taking ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. They were also not being given remdesivir. Fauci made it the only medication that doctors could treat COVID with. It was pulled from the Ebola trials in Africa because it has a 53% mortality rate. Many hospitals are still using it today. Don't research, don't take natural supplements that will boost your immune system. On the NIH website, you will find that vitamin D insufficiency may account for almost 9 of 10 COVID-19 deaths, published in December of 2020, but our government isn't telling us that. Pfizer made over $81 billion in 2021, which calculates to over $150,000 a minute, almost twice as much as what they had profited in previous years. Know your history and question everything. I'm here because I care about the children, and if one parent starts questioning, then I have done what God told me to do. Ephesians 5:11, take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. I want to thank you again. I will send you this on digital tomorrow so you can click links. Thank you.
Tyler Eldred.
My name is Tyler Eldred and will be speaking against Glenn Youngkin's model policies. I am an organizer with Tidewater Democratic Socialists of America, a founding member of Hampton Roads Reproductive Justice League, and a graduate of Warwick High School, class of 2007. As a magnet student to Warwick's International Baccalaureate program, I had the fortune of a very quality education. I read Dostoevsky on the way to calculus class and alternated orchestra and swim team in the evenings. My classmate, Maria, got a perfect score on the SATs and spoke 4 different languages. My buddy Eduardo was raised by a Puerto Rican single mother, and he got into MIT, expenses paid thanks to the FAFSA program. Slacker that I was ranked only top 30s in my class, So I went to the University of Virginia along with 15 of my classmates, a banner year at the time. We were everything the school system could have hoped for us to be, but students face a lot of new challenges now that I didn't. They must study through COVID and the fear of school shootings. They must face an increasingly competitive academic and economic environment. And now they face this gender policing at the hands of demagogues with an agenda of cruelty. Now I wonder what it would have been like if Maria was told she should act more feminine, or if Eduardo was harassed or suspended for wearing a purse or for painting his fingernails. I wonder, but need only recall the experience of my spouse, who tells me of the traumatic humiliation and degradation they as a queer youth had received at Norfolk's Tabernacle Baptist over dress code, sexuality, and supposed ladylike behavior. Over 15% of this new generation now identifies as queer. 46 of queer youth aged 13 to 24 attempted suicide in the past year, a figure which is higher in the South, where 42% say they live in a hostile or unwelcoming environment. You don't need calculus to understand the effect that has on a high school classroom. As a graduate of this school system, I am asking you, please don't squander what the youth of this future have to offer us. They deserve a nurturing academic environment, not a spiteful surveillance state. Our youth have so much to teach us, if only we would ask. Thank you.
Effie McMillan.
Hi, good evening. My name is Effie. I'm a graduate of the Hampton Roads Public School System and a transgender woman. I wanted to speak tonight in support of trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming students, as well as teachers at large. While I personally did not start transition until after I had graduated, I still found teachers to be an incredible source of comfort and support while I was coming into my own. And I personally know multiple people who did come out first to their friends at school, and yes, their teachers, because they did not feel comfortable coming out to their family at home. Children are not dumb. They usually have good reasons to trust some with information that they hesitate to share with others. The real question we should be asking ourselves is why these children don't feel safe to tell their own parents. But unfortunately, we already know the answer. Research has shown time and time again that parental acceptance of LGBT youth is often the deciding factor between a happy, fulfilling life and, on the other hand, chronic stress, homelessness, or worse. If you are a parent and you are worried your child might be hiding part of their identity from you, you can fix that yourself by being accepting and letting your child know that you are a safe person. You don't need school policy to do that. Trans kids are not hiding from parents because they want to blindside them or rebel. They are hiding because they are scared or simply not ready. Furthermore, in this campaign of fear-mongering, there has been constantly the pitting of counselors and educators at large as some kind of nefarious brainwashers. As someone who is close with and related to several educators at various levels, I can tell you they are already under enough stress without being maligned by those who support Youngkin's policies. Chronic understaffing and underfunding have left educators with more responsibilities and less compensation. Adding on top of that the impossible choice of either maintaining their students' privacy and well-being or their own job security is unconscionable. These recent policies make it more stressful for supportive teachers to do their jobs. I understand that trans people are still a pretty small group, and you might not know a trans person in your own life, so I stand here before you to tell you how fulfilling it is to live a life authentically, and that we are real people. Thankfully, my parents have been supportive, but if instead I stood here and told you that I was scared to tell my parents about my identity but could not necessarily prove that they were abusive, would you ask a person I trusted to out me to them? Would you do that to me now? Would you do that to me if I was 18? Would you do that to me if I was 9 years old? Point is, we need space to figure ourselves out as people. And if we don't feel safe to do it at home, and we don't feel safe to do it at school, where are we to do it? I get the feeling that some would rather we not do it at all, and that people like me stay closeted at the risk of our physical and mental health. So I ask you to simply look at the care guidelines for LGBT youth that have been developed by experts across the world, in contrast with Youngkin's proposed policies, and repeal them. Thank you.
Do we have any more cards? Okay. For the sake of time, we will just hear from the purpose that we are here for, which are students. So our student representative, Erin Lynn, what do you have for us this evening?
The first meeting of the Superintendent's Student Advisory Group was held last month, and we had students representing all of our high schools in Newport News. Our goal is to enhance the high school experience for all students and preparing them to graduate college, career, and citizen ready. We develop meeting norms and discuss the process and activities that were going well at school, and we also talked about things that we propose to change. We also got student volunteers to serve on the school division's Rights and Responsibilities Handbook Committee. We are looking forward to our next meeting, which will be in December. Thank you.
You are welcome. Good night, you evening. Meeting adjourned.